what we
Good.
okay. How's been your day? How is everyone doing? I hope you had a great day. I hope you had a nice week. So, good evening, Christine. Good evening, Cinnamon. Good evening, Goldine.
Good
It's good
evening,
to
ma.
have you here this evening. So, Christine, you were in our last class, and Goldine, I'm not sure. So, I would like to ask you to give us a recap, or let me start by asking, what was our last topic? That was yesterday. What was our last topic?
Sensory organs, ma.
Okay, sensory organs, correct. So who can tell us about sensory organs? Can anyone tell us about sensory organs, the sense organs that we have? Anyone wants to give it a trial? Anyone? Okay, let me be specific. Who can mention the sense organs? The sense organs in mammals. Mammals to be precise. Please unmute your mics. Unmute your mics. And if you're in a place where you cannot speak freely, please feel free to make use of the chat box to drop your to drop answers. Anyone?
Ears, eyes, nose, and
Okay.
skin, and tongue.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Eyes, tongue, the skin. Yes, you're correct. And I did mention also. Okay, let's start with the eyes. The eyes as a sensory organ. Let's start with the eyes as a sensory organ. Who can tell us about the eyes as a sensory organ? Anybody? Who can tell us about the eyes? The eyes as a sensory organ? Anyone wants to give it a trial? Okay. How about the nose as a sensory organ? The nose as a sensory organ. Who wants to tell us about the nose as a sensory organ?
They detect particles in the air.
Okay. How about the tongue as a sensory organ? The tongue as a sensory organ.
The tongue is used to test for taste.
Yes, the tongue is used to taste. Okay. How many parts of the tongue do we have? Anyone? How many parts of the tongue do we have? How many parts of the tongue do we have? Anybody? I'm illustrating it on the screen. How many of you can see my screen? If you can see my screen, drop an emoji. You can see the whiteboard, drop an emoji. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go on. So how many parts of the tongue do we have? I've labeled 3. I wanted to do the 4th one, and I was waiting for you people to respond. We have 4 parts. We have 4 parts of the tongue. We have the part that tastes the bitter, when you taste something bitter, something sweet, something salty, or something sour. I mentioned yesterday in our class, I said, for example, you're cooking soup or you're just cooking a meal, and then you added salt to the, after adding your seasoning, you added salt, and after adding the salt, what happens as a Nigerian, an African? Once you add salt to your food, what do? You put it and you what? You taste. You say, okay, is the salt enough? Or should I add more, or should I leave it this way? Except for those that listen to their ancestors, they add salt until when their spirit tells them it's enough. But for those of us that once we add salt, we taste and to check if the salt is enough or not. Now, how are we able to differentiate this food contains salt, this food contains no salt, or this food contains too much salt? It's because there is a part of our tongue that's able to sense and taste that if something is salty or not. All right. Who can tell us about the eyes? The eyes. Anybody? Can anyone tell us about the eyes? Okay, let me be specific again. The eyes is divided into two parts, or we can describe the eyes based on in two ways. How do we do that? Anyone want to give that a trial? Does anyone want to give that a trial? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to ask you questions based on what I'm labeling. I did illustrate a picture yesterday on the external structures. I said the eyes can be divided into external structures and internal structures. So who can tell me which structure is showed on the screen? Is that the external structure of the eyes or the internal structure of the eyes? Anybody? Is that the external, what I drew on the screen? Is it the external structure of the eyes or the internal structure of the eyes?
External.
The external structure. Thank you, Christine.
External.
This is the external. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the external structure of the eyes. And looking at it, we have the eyebrow, we have the eyelashes, right? Are you following? We have the eyelashes, and then we have our eyelids. The eyelids opens and closes. So also we have, now I'm going to label a part and I'm going to ask you a question on it. This part that I drew an arrow, on, what is it called? This part that I drew a line on, what's it called? Anyone wants to give it a trial? Anybody? Okay, that part is the part that is called the sclera. I mentioned it yesterday. I said it's the part that is called the sclera. And I said the sclera is also called the egg white of the eyes. It is the white part of your eyes that you can visibly see. Now, when that white part becomes red, it shows something is wrong with your eyes. Or when it becomes yellowish, in general, if there is a discoloration of the white of your eyes, it shows something is going on with your eyes and it is not right. Someone that has conjunctivitis, for example, that white part of the eyes is going to become reddish. All right. So who can tell us about the skin? Who can tell us about the skin? Anyone tell us about the skin? Can anyone tell us about the skin? Oh, before we talk about the skin, yes. What are the defects that affect the eyes? The eye defects that we have. What are the eye defects? Anyone, the eye defects that we have? Anyone? What are the eye defects that we have? Eye defects? Does anyone want to give it a trial? Eye defects. Nobody, okay. I did mention that some of the eye defects that we have, I mentioned myopia, hypermetropia, color blindness, astigmatism, cataracts, night blindness, and so on. All right. So before we go on to what we have for today, does anybody have a question or questions on or what we did in our last class, sense organs? Does anybody have questions? Anyone? Okay, so I guess no one has questions on what we did in our last class. All right, then you can have your mics muted and let's go on to what we have for today. Today we are going to be talking about regulation of internal endocrine organs, regulation of internal environment, which is called homeostasis. How many of you have heard about homeostasis before? You've heard about homeostasis before? Can you signify? Okay, good. Christine has heard about homeostasis before. That is great. All right. Now, talking about regulation of body, the internal environment, homeostasis. Homeostasis, what is the definition of homeostasis? It is simply defined as the maintenance of constant internal environment. Remember, the topic is regulation of internal environment. So homeostasis is a way that our body uses to regulate its internal environment. Homeostasis is the maintenance of constant internal environment in an organism. For example, when the weather is cold, why don't we die of cold? Because before we know it, you tell us, oh my God, I'm feeling cold. You start developing goosebumps. You start shivering. The next thing is you're going to get inside, get a warmer, a blanket, your sweater, cardigan, you kit up, right? When the weather gets hot and you are wearing your cardigan or your thick sweatshirt for fashion, what happens? You take it off, right? Because your body is telling you that the weather is hot and you're already sweating. Now, that is one way that our body uses to regulate internal environment. Now, what are the homeostatic organs that we have? The homeostatic organs that we have, they include the kidney, the liver, we have the pancreas, we have the skin, and we have some endocrine glands hormones, even the brain, and then the hormones that are released by organs like the adrenal gland, the thyroid gland, the pancreas, the gonads, the gonadal cell, the gonadal organs, the pituitary gland, parathyroid gland. Now, talking about these hormones, there is something called hormonal coordination. Welcome to class, Melody. You're welcome to class. Yes. All right. So before we go on, I want to tell you that there's a difference between hemostasis and there's a difference between homeostasis. Who knows the difference between these two? Hemostasis and homeostasis. If you know the difference between these two, can you signify? Okay. If you know the difference between homeostasis and hemostasis, can you signify? Okay. Now, the first one, hemostasis. Hemostasis is just simply the way in which we control blood loss. While homeostasis is maintenance of internal environment. If you can see if you can see the whiteboard, please signify. If you can see the whiteboard, signify. If you can't see it, signify. Okay. Give me a moment. Okay. If you can see the whiteboard now, signify. Okay, thank you, Christine. Now, talking about the first one. Talking about the first one, homeostasis, it is the one that I just defined. The regulation of constant internal environment. Don't mix homeostasis up with hemostasis. Can you see the difference? The difference is this, one starts with homeo, one starts with hemo. Don't mix it up. You can find the two in an option. They give you a question, for example, the maintenance of a constant internal environment, option A, hemostasis, option B, homeostasis. Make sure you take a good look at the spelling because they look the same, but the spellings are different and the definition is different. All right, so talking about homeostatic organs and hemostasis and regulation of internal environment. Let's talk about the hormones. We talk about the hormones. You're welcome to class, Egwagi. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you for joining. Please endeavor to mute your mic. So I already mentioned the homeostatic organs. I said we have the kidney, the liver, the lungs, the pancreas, the skin, the brain, and some hormones. Hormones like the adrenaline hormone, adrenocorticotrophin, released by the adrenal gland, etc. We'll talk about it. Now let's start with the homeostatic organs, the kidney. I want to believe everyone here has heard about a kidney before. If you're here, you've not heard about kidney. Okay, thank you, Christine. So Christine has heard about kidneys. Christine has heard about kidneys before. So talking about the kidneys are quite they are organs that we can easily relate to. Why? How many of you here knows how to cook fried rice, or you've seen the ingredient of fried rice? Have you noticed that part of the ingredient of fried rice, there is something they call kidney beans, part of the ingredient of fried rice. They call it kidney beans. It's reddish and it looks like it's just the shape of a beans, but it's bigger than the normal beans that we eat. They use it as an ingredient for fried rice. Now, our kidney can be likened to Egwagi, please mute your mic. You're not muted. Mute your mic, please. Now, the kidney is what is they are retroperitoneal organs, and they have a bean shape. They have a bean shape, just like what I'm drawing on the screen. We have the left kidney and we have the right kidney. Now, the kidney forms part of what we call the urinary system, where we have the kidneys, the ureters, the urethra, and the urinary bladder. The kidneys are paired bean-shaped organs. As you can see on the screen, they are paired. There are two, left kidney and the right kidney, and they are located posteriorly in the abdominal cavity. And what is their color? They are reddish brown, and their function is they perform excretory function. Now, what's the function of the kidney? Like I mentioned, it performs excretory function. Two, it performs osmoregulatory function, which includes water balance. The kidney helps with water balance. For example, one of the signs that somebody's kidney is failing is when the person is dealing with edema, where the person's ankles, feet, hands, fingers are swollen. And when you press on it, there is spitting. Also, regulation of water in body fluid, regulation of blood sodium level, and regulation of the blood pH. Now, Egwagi, please mute your mic. You're not muted. Mute your mic, please. Thank you. Now, the kidney performs excretory function, yes, but it is also involved in the process of formation of blood. How does this happen? The kidney releases an hormone called erythropoietin. How many of you have heard about erythropoietin?
Yes, ma'am.
Erythropoietin. When erythropoietin is released in the kidney, it helps in the it helps with the formation of blood cells, which is erythropoiesis, a process that is called erythropoiesis. Now, there are diseases that affect the kidney. We have nephritis, inflammation of the kidney. We have kidney stones, nephrolithiasis, kidney stones, where there are stones in the kidney. We have diuresis. Diuresis is caused as a result of low levels of an hormone of the antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic hormone can also be called vasopressin. Also, we have edema, like I mentioned earlier, when somebody's feet, ankles, legs, and even fingers, maybe even face, is swollen. And one sign of it is when you press on that part of the body, it pits, it forms a depression, and that depression doesn't bounce back easily. So that is that about the kidney. Then we have, before I forget, we also have nephrectomy, which is the surgical removal of the kidney, where the kidneys are excised in the case of end-stage kidney disease. Now we have the liver. Talking about the liver is the largest organ in the body of a mammal, just like the skin is the largest gland. Now, what's the function of the liver, and what is the color of the liver? I believe you must have seen liver before. If you have not seen liver in a human being, you must have seen the liver of a chicken, the liver of a cow. Those of you that usually eat the internal organs of animals, you must have seen at least I have seen the kidney of a chicken, and I have seen the kidney of a cow before. The liver, and yes, the kidney. How do they look like? They look reddish brown. Sorry, they are dark red. It is the kidney that is reddish brown. They are dark red in color. And they have two lobes. They are divided into two lobes, the right lobe and the left lobe. And then what are talking about the functions of the liver, the formation of glycogen. They store glucose as glycogen. They are involved in detoxification. They help to remove harmful and toxic substances out of our body. For example, metabolism of drugs occurs in the liver. That is why researchers and doctors are telling us to stop abusing drugs. If you abuse drugs too much, whatever drug you take, any drug you take orally that you swallow, it goes through the liver and the liver metabolizes it. So if you are the type that if an individual is used to abusing drugs, now drug abuse, okay, what is drug abuse? Who can tell us what drug abuse is? Let me see if you know what I'm talking about. Can anybody tell us what drug abuse is? If you are in a place where you can't speak, you can drop a message in the chat box. Anybody wants to tell us what drug abuse means? Okay. Now, drug abuse is just simply the misuse of drugs. Drug abuse is simply the misuse of drugs, where an individual takes drug without prescription from a doctor, not from a quack, not from an unlicensed individual, from a licensed individual like a doctor, a certified nurse. Now, when you're abusing drugs, one of the things that will happen is it can affect your liver. And for those that take hard drugs, is the same thing. The hard drugs they are swallowing through their mouth, different types of drugs they are swallowing just to get that euphoric feeling on high, feeling on top of the world. These drugs passes through the liver. And because they are harmful, and most times they overdose on it. Because they overdose on it, it puts more workload on the liver. And before you know it, they will say a 25-year-old person is down with a liver disease. Why? Because the person has either been consuming hard drugs or the person has been misusing drugs, regular drugs. Okay. The liver produces heparin, prothrombin, and fibrinogen, which is involved in blood clotting. The liver is involved in active metabolism. The liver produces a protein called angioteninogen, which helps the kidney in osmoregulation. The liver has cells that are called Kupffer cells, and these Kupffer cells are responsible for phagocytosing foreign or dead cells. When we talk about phagocytose, they are eating up, they are swallowing dead cells or foreign cells, foreign organisms that gain entrance into the body. And there are diseases that affect the liver. For example, we have liver cirrhosis. Liver cirrhosis, according to researchers, is said to be caused majorly by high intake of alcohol. So this disease is majorly linked to people who are alcoholics. Then we have hepatitis. Now we have hepatitis A and hepatitis B. But what is hepatitis itself? Hepatitis is the inflammation of the liver. The liver is called the hepatic cell, and it contains it contains cells that are called hepatocytes. So hepatitis means inflammation, and we have hepatitis A and hepatitis B. Now, the most common cause is through exposure, blood contact, exchange of bodily fluid between somebody who has hepatitis and an individual who doesn't have it. So you can contract hepatitis through exchange of bodily fluids. Now, there are vaccines out there for hepatitis. So if peradventure you've not been vaccinated, you've not gotten a vaccine for hepatitis, just like there's a vaccine for, just like there's vaccine for COVID-19, there is a vaccine for polio. So also there are vaccines for hepatitis. So do endeavor to get vaccinated if you've not been vaccinated. Another disease that affects the liver, we have diabetes mellitus. Now, diabetes mellitus, it occurs as a result of when the liver is unable to convert excess glucose into glycogen. Now, because the body cannot convert excess glucose into glycogen, there is high level of glucose in the blood circulating all around. And that will lead to a condition, a disease called diabetes mellitus. Now, why am I saying diabetes mellitus? Because most people are used to hearing, oh, this person has diabetes, this person has diabetes. However, there are two types of diabetes. We have diabetes mellitus and we have diabetes insipidus. In diabetes mellitus is caused as a result of high level of glucose in the blood. So when that person excretes urine, that person's urine will contain glucose. Whereas in diabetes insipidus, it is caused as a result of low level of antidiuretic hormone, vasopressin. So the person is just passing out large amount of urine. However, when they test that urine for glucose, it is negative. So this diabetes insipidus is mostly related to the brain because of low levels of antidiuretic hormone, also called vasopressin. Another disease that might affect the liver indirectly, we have gallstones. Now, the liver releases bile, and this bile is stored in a small pouch called the gallbladder. So this is the small pouch I'm talking about. This circle here forming a ring that's drawn with this continued line. So we have liver cancer also, which is presence of malignant growth in the liver. Now let's talk about what? Okay, your mic is still unmuted. Just endeavor to mute it, please. Egwagi, thank you. Talking about hormones that help with regulation of internal environment. First of all, what are hormones? Hormones are chemical messengers. Hormones are chemical messengers that are secreted by endocrine glands. And these hormones, what do they do in the body? What do these hormones do in the body? They go to the target organs and affect their function in the target organs. Now, talking about hormones and the organ that secretes them. The gland, let's talk about the adrenal gland, which secretes adrenocorticotrophin hormone and glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. We have the thyroid gland that secretes two hormones, triiodothyronine and thyroxine. Then we have the pancreas that secretes insulin, glucagon, and somatostatin. Then we have the gonad for males. We have testosterone that is released by the sperm cells. Then we have progesterone and estrogen released by the ovaries in females. We have the pituitary gland that releases the growth hormones, prolactin, gonadotrophins, thyroid stimulating hormones, etc. Then we have the pituitary, that's all. So firstly, talking about the pituitary gland that secretes the pituitary hormone. If you can see my screen, please signify. You can see my screen, please signify. Okay, thank you, Christine. All right, let's go on. So the pituitary hormone is secreted by the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland is found just below the hypothalamus. The pituitary gland is commonly referred to as the master gland. And why is it referred to as the master gland? Because it is responsible majorly for controlling most of the hormones that have been released. Now, the hormones released by the pituitary gland, let's mention them. We have the gonadotrophin hormones. We have the adrenocorticotrophin hormone. We have the thyroid stimulating hormone. We have prolactin. We have somatotrophin. Now, when we are talking about the gonadotrophin hormones, this one releases the growth hormones. It releases the growth hormones, also called somatotrophin. Then the second one, we have the adrenocorticotrophin hormones, which stimulates the adrenal cortex to secrete steroid hormones. And we have prolactin. Prolactin stimulates the mammary gland, the breast in females, to secrete milk. Then we have the thyroid stimulating hormone. And what is the function of the thyroid stimulating hormone? TSH. It stimulates the thyroid gland to secrete thyroid hormones. Then we have we also have hormones like the luteinizing hormones and the follicle stimulating hormone, which we have classified under gonadotrophin hormones. Also, we have vasopressin hormone, or also called the antidiuretic hormone. Now, the pituitary gland has two parts, the anterior part and the posterior part. The anterior part is the one that produces the gonadotrophin hormones, adrenocorticotrophin hormones, thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin, and somatotrophin. The posterior part of the pituitary gland secretes two hormones, the antidiuretic hormone, ADH, also called vasopressin, which I mentioned earlier that it is involved in causing diabetes insipidus. Now, this hormone vasopressin, it controls the amount of water in the blood. So when there is low level of the vasopressin hormone, it results in a condition called diabetes insipidus. Then we have oxytocin, which is the second hormone that is released by the posterior pituitary gland. Oxytocin is responsible for contraction of the uterine muscles during childbirth. Now we have the thyroid hormones. The thyroid hormones is located in the neck region, in the anterior neck region, and it produces triiodothyronine, which is T3 hormone. It produces thyroxine, the T4 hormones, and it produces thyronine. Okay, then we have the parathyroid hormones. The parathyroid hormones which are released by the parathyroid glands. The name of the parathyroid hormone is the parathormone. These parathyroid glands, they are attached to the thyroid gland, and they are 4 in number. They are responsible for regulating blood calcium level. Then we have the pancreatic hormone released by the pancreas, which I said earlier that there are 2, the insulin and the glucagon. Now, the insulin is secreted by the beta cells, the pancreatic beta cells, while the glucagon is secreted by the pancreatic alpha cells, also called A cells. Now, insulin is responsible for converting excess sugar in the blood to glycogen, which is stored in the liver, while glucagon converts that glycogen stored in the liver, it converts it back into glucose when the blood glucose level is low. So when the blood glucose level is high, insulin is released and the glucose is converted into glycogen that is stored in the liver. When glucose level is low, the glycogen stored in the liver is converted back into glucose by the hormone glucagon. So insulin and glucagon work hand in hand to maintain blood sugar levels in mammals. So when there is oversecretion of insulin, there is hypoglycemia. When there is undersecretion of insulin, there is it leads to hyperglycemia and causes a condition called diabetes mellitus. Then we have the adrenal hormones. The adrenal hormones are also called they are released by the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are also called the suprarenal glands. Suprarenal, when we're talking about superior, up, above the kidney, that is why it's called suprarenal glands. So they are located above the kidney, and they produce the adrenaline and noradrenaline, the emergency hormone, the fight or flight hormones. And they secrete, they release glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and which regulates the level of sodium, potassium, even for example, aldosterone. When there's aldosterone, it increases sodium ion absorption. Now, the adrenaline is, like I mentioned earlier, is regarded as the emergency hormone, which helps you to think and say, do I want to run or do I want to stay? For example, if a dog starts chasing you, adrenaline is released. You now decide, do you want to bend down and pick a stick and break the dog's head, or you want to start running? Your adrenal gland is responsible for making those decisions. If you decide to run or fight, what happens? One of the things that will happen is your heart rate will increase to be able to compensate. Your heart rate will increase to be able to compensate. There will be increased rate of conversion of glycogen to glucose. That glucose will provide energy for you to either run away or stand and fight. Then we have the reproductive hormones, the gonads. The male testes secrete testosterone, which is involved in maintaining male sexual characteristics. The ovaries in females secrete estrogen and progesterone, which also is involved in development of sexual characteristics, especially when the organs become mature. So that is all that we have for today. Do we have anyone that have questions? Does anybody have any question? You can unmute your mics, please. Melody, Golden, Obamumi, Christine, Cinnamon, Egwage, you can unmute your mics. Unmute your mic and ask questions. And if eventually you are in a place where you are unable to speak freely, please, you can make use of the chat box to ask your questions. Anybody? Okay, if you can hear me, please signify. Because you're unmuted, I don't know. Okay, so you can hear me. All right, thank you for that. Christine, are you there? Obawumi, are you there? Golden, are you there? Okay, Christine is there. Obawumi, Melody. Okay, Golden is there. Obawumi, Melody, are you there? Egoagi, are you there? Okay, Melody and Obawumi, are you there? All right, so I guess Obawumi is not there because she's not responding. So I was asking if anybody have questions on what we talked about today. All right, so I'm assuming that that is a no. So let me ask questions. Who can mention some of the hormones? The homeostatic hormones, who can mention it? Anyone wants to give it a trial?
Insulin.
Okay, insulin. Yes. Any other person?
Glycogen.
No, glucagon. Glucagon, not glycogen. They sound alike. It's glucagon. All right, what other hormones?
Aldosterone.
Okay. What other hormones? What other hormone? Anybody? Okay, only one person has responded. The rest of you, I'm waiting for your response.
Somatropic hormone.
Okay, gonadotrophic hormones. Yes, thank you for that, Obawumi. Okay, can you mention the endocrine glands? The glands, the organs that secrete hormones. The glands, the organs that secrete hormones. Anyone?
Ovaries.
Ovaries, yes. Ovaries, yes. Which other? What?
Testes.
The testes, yes. Go on.
Pancreas.
The pancreas, yes. Go on. Okay, the ovaries, the testes, the pancreas, yes. What did you say?
Pituitary glands.
The pituitary gland, yes. The pituitary gland. Okay, what hormones does the pituitary gland release? Okay, another name for the pituitary gland is what?
Master gland.
Okay, the master gland. So who can mention one of the hormones that the master gland, the pituitary gland, releases? Anyone wants to give it a trial?
My growth hormones.
Yes, growth hormones. Yes. Any other one? Go on, go on. You're doing okay. Any other one? Okay. We have growth hormones. You know, I said we have some of the hormones it also releases. We have oxytocin, antidiuretic hormone, and so on. All right. Who can tell me what is the shape of the kidney? The shape of the kidney. What's the shape?
Bean shape.
What?
Bean shape.
Bean shape. Thank you, the both of you. The kidney is bean shape. Okay. Who can mention a function of the kidney? Who can mention a function of the kidney?
The kidney helps to filter blood.
Yes. Okay. What are the
Remove waste products from the
what?
blood.
What did you
It
say?
removes waste products from the blood.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. What are the diseases that affect the kidney? Diseases that affect the kidney.
Kidney
We
stone,
have the kidney stone,
Okay. Kidney stone. Thank you.
kidney failure,
Kidney failure. Yes. Thank you. Kidney failure. Okay.
and
Thank you.
urinary tract.
What did
Kidney
you say?
stones.
Urinary tract.
Oh, urinary tract infection. Okay, that is great. I didn't even mention that in class. That is great. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay. What are the functions of the liver? Functions of the liver?
It stores glycogen
Yes, it stores glycogen. Yes.
and produces blood proteins.
Okay. What are the diseases that affect the liver? Disease that affect the liver.
Hepatitis,
Okay. Which other one?
liver cancer,
Okay, liver cancer. Thank you for that. All right. After marking the attendance, I don't want to forget about it. So I've got Egwagi, we have Obawumi, we have Christine, we have Melody. Okay. Okay. Give me a moment. I want to mark the attendance before I totally forget about it. Okay. Uh is success in class? Or now he was or Sazi, he was in class yesterday. Are you in class today? Okay. All right. Okay. Give me a moment. I think I know those that are in class or friend. I'm going to call your name. Okay, so please listen to your name. If you did not hear your name, let me know your name. Obawumi, Golden. Obawumi and Golden, they are here. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Is Osazu Ilogoza in class? Okay. Anyone named Sharon? I think this is my first time noticing that. Okay. Christine, Melody, I got your name on the attendance. I've gotten yours on the attendance. So I want to go over it. We have Egwagi, Obawumi, Christine. We have Melody. We have Golden. If you've not heard your name, let me know. If you've not heard your name, let me know now, please. Senior man, what is your name on the attendance? Senior man and Lillian. What's your name on
David,
the attendance? What did you say?
David,
David what?
Ayuba,
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that name. Okay. Lillian, what is your name on the attendance?
Uchenna Lillian.
Uchenna Lillian. Do I have Uchenna Lillian on this list? Give me a moment. Let me take a look at it again. Give me a moment. Okay, I don't have any Uchenna Lillian. Yeah, Lillian, I don't have Uchenna Lillian on the attendance list. So please endeavor to reach out to the admin, Lillian. Okay? Okay, Lillian. Okay, thank you for that. Does anybody have any question before we bring the class to a close? And that reminds me, I've gotten an assignment for you published. How many of you have seen the assignment, the biology assignment on your dashboard? I had it published today. Okay, Christine, I've seen the assignment. Okay. All right. So please take a look at your dashboard. The assignment is based on what we did yesterday, the sense organs. So it's a short answer question. You type in the correct answer. So you read the question and type in the correct answer. I think the deadline is next week, Wednesday. So endeavor to get it done and turn it in. Late submission is not allowed. So do well to finish up so I can go through them before our next class next week, Thursday. So in the absence of question, I'm going to bring this class to a close. However, even at the point of your reading, you have questions, please do well to note them down. In our next class next week, Thursday, before we go on to what we have for Thursday, we are going to go through what we've done today. So if peradventure you have questions while reading, just note it down. We'll be able to attend to it next week, Thursday. So in the absence of questions, we're going to bring this class to a close. So I'm going to see you next Thursday by 7 p.m. Do have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you too.